General Hospital, Lulu's desperate search for Charlotte ends in tragedy. Lulu Spencer is living every parent's nightmare. Her young daughter, Charlotte Cassadine, is missing without a trace. In a frantic bid to find her child, Lulu seeks out an unlikely ally, Jason Morgan, a man with a reputation for getting things done when it matters most. She catches up to Jason at the docks one chilly evening, her voice trembling as she calls his name. Her eyes are red from countless sleepless nights, but they burn with determination. Lulu falls into step beside him and begs for his help, her words spilling out in a desperate rush. She pleads with Jason to find Charlotte and bring her home. For Lulu, this is the last hope. She will do anything and go anywhere to reunite with her little girl. Jason is taken aback by Lulu's plea, but he listens intently, his jaw clenched with concern. He may be known for his stoic demeanor, yet Jason has a soft spot for children and for those he cares about in Port Charles. A former private detective and experienced investigator, Jason has the skills and connections needed for a search like this. Lulu explains that Charlotte vanished with her father, Valentine Cassadine. Valentine had fled town with Charlotte when his life was in danger, and now he is a fugitive wanted by the police. Lulu's voice wavers as she recalls the frantic night Valentine disappeared. Threats had been closing in on Valentine, either from enemies or the law, and in his panic he took Charlotte and ran. Lulu was quick to clarify that she doesn't believe Charlotte is in any danger from her father. Despite everything Valentine has done, Lulu insists he would never hurt their daughter. She's safe with him, I know it, Lulu says, tears in her eyes, but Charlotte needs to be here, with me, not in hiding. Jason nods silently, weighing Lulu's words. He knows Valentine's reputation as a dangerous man, but he also knows the fierce love Valentine has for Charlotte. It's a twisted situation. Valentine might have taken Charlotte to protect her, yet by doing so he's keeping Charlotte away from the rest of her family and risking her future. Lulu's desperation is palpable. She grips Jason's arm, willing him to understand. Her logic is sound. If Valentine truly means Charlotte no harm, then there's no reason the little girl should be on the run, living in the shadows. Charlotte belongs home in Port Charles, going to school, playing with her brother Rocco, and sleeping in her own bed, not bouncing from one safe house to another. Lulu's voice drops to a whisper as she adds, I'm afraid, if we don't find them now, I may never see her again. She fears that as long as Valentine remains in hiding, Charlotte's life will be unstable and isolated. Lulu has had enough of waiting and worrying, she needs action. Moved by Lulu's plight, Jason finally agrees. He places a reassuring hand on her shoulder and promises, I'll help you find Charlotte. Those words come as a massive relief. Lulu exhales shakily, fresh tears pooling in her eyes, but this time they are tears of hope. She throws her arms around Jason in gratitude, whispering thank yous against his shoulder. Jason, usually not one for big displays of emotion, lets her hug him and even gently pats her back. He understands the gravity of what he has committed to. If there is one thing Jason Morgan is known for, it's coming through for his friends. Lulu steps back, her face a mixture of gratitude and lingering worry, and asks what the next step will be. Jason assures her he has a plan. His mind has already begun formulating how to track down a man who doesn't want to be found. The first thing Jason does is enlist the help of his close friend and tech expert, Damian Spinelli. Spinelli, an ace hacker with a knack for digging up impossible-to-find information, is exactly who Jason needs on this case. Late that night, Jason meets Spinelli at a safe house, a laptop already humming on the table. Lulu hovers nearby, anxiously wringing her hands as Spinelli gets to work. His fingers fly over the keyboard as he taps into flight records, credit card transactions, and any digital breadcrumbs Valentine may have left behind. Spinelli mutters to himself in concentration, using every trick in his book. Within hours, he hits pay dirt. I've got something, Spinelli exclaims, pushing his glasses up his nose. Lulu and Jason lean over the screen. There, highlighted on the computer display, is a clue, Valentine and Charlotte's last known location points to Berlin, Germany. It seems that not long after Valentine fled Port Charles, he traveled to Berlin, likely using one of his many aliases. A credit card charge under an assumed name, matching Valentine's pattern, was made at a small hotel in Berlin. There are also surveillance camera stills, grainy but clear enough, of a man who looks like Valentine holding a young girl's hand at the Berlin Tegel airport. Charlotte was with him, Berlin. The word alone sends a jolt through Lulu. The world suddenly feels both vast and small. Her daughter is an ocean away, yet finally there's a solid lead on her whereabouts. Lulu thanks Spinelli profusely, gripping his shoulder as if he'd just pulled off a miracle. In her eyes, he has. Jason wastes no time. They cannot afford to lose Valentine's trail now that they have it. He tells Lulu to stay in Port Charles for now, promising to call her with any news. Jason plans to travel to Berlin immediately to chase down this lead. Lulu is reluctant to let Jason go alone, but he insists it's safer and faster this way. He needs to move quietly, without drawing unnecessary attention that could spook Valentine into vanishing again. Lulu nods, trusting Jason's judgment, though her heart aches at not being able to jump on the next plane herself. As Jason packs a bag and books the next flight out, Lulu clasps his hand and whispers, "Please bring my little girl back." Jason gives her a solemn nod. "I will," he replies, determination etched on his face. Within the next day, Jason arrives in Berlin under the radar. The city is chilly and bustling as he steps off the plane, pulling his jacket tighter against the cold. Despite the change of scenery, Jason's focus never wavers from his mission. He has one goal: find Charlotte and Valentine. Using the intel Spinelli provided, Jason checks into the very hotel where Valentine was spotted. He flashes a photograph of Valentine and Charlotte at the front desk, asking the clerk if they've seen them. The clerk recognizes Charlotte from the photo, a sweet little blonde girl, hard to forget, and confirms that she and her father had indeed been guests a couple of weeks prior. Jason's heart quickens. He's on the right track. However, the clerk explains that one night, there was some sort of commotion. Valentine and Charlotte left in a hurry, very early in the morning, and they haven't been seen since. Jason thanks the clerk and senses trouble. Why would Valentine leave abruptly unless someone was onto him? It sounds like whatever danger Valentine feared might have caught up with him. Even here, running low on options and realizing he might need official assistance, Jason decides to contact the local police in Berlin. At first, he's hesitant. Valentine is a wanted man, and involving the police could complicate things. But Jason also knows that if anything serious went down here, the authorities may have records or information he can't access alone. So he walks into a Berlin police station and introduces himself as a concerned family friend searching for a missing child. He explains, carefully omitting certain details, that a little American girl named Charlotte may be in the city with her father and they might be in danger. The officers listen and then exchange uneasy glances. Jason's gut tightens. Something is off. One officer asks Jason to wait a moment and disappears into a back office. Minutes tick by like hours as Jason paces in the lobby, anxiety mounting. Finally, the officer returns, accompanied by a plainclothes detective who speaks to Jason in a low, serious tone. The detective informs him that a few days ago, the body of a young girl approximately Charlotte's age was found in a park on the outskirts of the city. She was carrying no identification, but from her clothing and description, they suspected she might be American or at least not local. Hearing these words, Jason feels the blood drain from his face. He struggles to keep his composure as the detective gently continues, explaining that they haven't yet confirmed the child's identity. Given the timing in Jason's inquiry, they fear this could be Charlotte. Jason's mind reels at this news. He refuses to believe it at first. It can't be Charlotte, it just can't. He demands to see the body to be sure. His heart pounds as they lead him to the city morgue, each step heavier than the last. Jason steels himself for what he might see, silently praying that this is some cruel coincidence, that the little girl lying in the morgue is not Lulu's beloved Charlotte. But as soon as the sheet is drawn back, Jason's worst fears are confirmed. He recognizes the child immediately, the soft golden hair, the familiar curve of her cheek. It's Charlotte. She looks peaceful, almost like she's sleeping, but her small body is lifeless and cold. A wave of grief and shock hits Jason so hard that he has to brace himself against the edge of the gurney. For a moment, the tough, unflappable Jason Morgan feels utterly broken. He closes his eyes, jaw trembling, and mutters a quiet apology to Charlotte, as if he had let her down by not finding her in time. After the initial shock subsides, Jason forces himself to gather details from the Berlin detective about what happened. The police suspect that Charlotte was murdered. There were visible bruises on her arms and signs of a struggle. She may have been smothered or strangled, pending the full autopsy report. The detective explains that the authorities found her body in a remote area of a public park early one morning, wrapped in a light blanket. There was no sign of Valentine. Jason's heart sinks further hearing this. Whoever harmed Charlotte had left her alone in that cold, dark place. Jason asks if there were any witnesses or leads, any indication of who did this. The detective shakes his head grimly and mentions that an investigation is ongoing. They have been searching for the girl's father, Valentine Cassadine, who is now a person of interest. We are not sure if the father is a victim as well, or if he might be responsible. The detective admits these words hang heavy in the air. Jason knows Valentine's love for Charlotte was genuine. He can't imagine Valentine ever laying a hand on her. But the alternative is equally grim. If Valentine didn't do this, it means someone else did, and possibly that Valentine himself is in grave danger or being held captive. The mystery is far from solved. Why was Charlotte murdered? Where is Valentine? Jason grapples with these haunting questions, even as his duty shifts to the heartbreaking task at hand. Bringing Charlotte back home, Jason arranges for Charlotte's body to be released to him after speaking with both the Berlin authorities and contacts back in Port Charles. It's an arduous process, laden with paperwork and the weight of sorrow that never lifts from Jason's shoulders. During this time, he calls home to inform Laura Spencer, Lulu's mother and Charlotte's grandmother, about what has happened. Jason can barely get the words out when Laura answers. On the other end of the line, Laura's anguished cry is the only confirmation he needs that the news has struck like a lightning bolt. They agree to keep the details from Lulu until Jason returns. This kind of devastating news is best delivered in person with family around to support her. Jason steels himself for the long flight home, traveling with Charlotte's small, lifeless form carefully transported alongside him. It is the heaviest journey Jason has ever endured. Throughout the flight, he finds himself alternating between anger and sorrow, anger at whoever did this to an innocent child, and deep sorrow for what he knows awaits Lulu. Back in Port Charles a day later, a somber cloud hangs over the tarmac of the private airfield as Jason's plane lands. Word has quietly spread among a select few: the search for Charlotte has ended in tragedy. Lulu stands with Laura and a couple of close friends at the edge of the hangar, her hands clutched together as if in prayer, eyes red-rimmed and distant. She knows Charlotte is coming home, but not in the way she had prayed for. Hope and denial have been warring within her since she got the call from her mother that Jason was on his way back, and now, as Jason steps off the plane, Lulu desperately searches his face for any sign that this is all a mistake. Jason approaches slowly, his own eyes shining with unshed tears, and he meets Lulu's gaze. He doesn't even have to speak. The truth is written in his expression, the slight shake of his head, the sorrow in his eyes. Lulu's knees buckle as reality crashes down. No. No, she cries out, even as Laura moves to catch her daughter from collapsing. The grief that grips Lulu is indescribable. Jason's eyes brim over then, a single tear escaping as he witnesses Lulu's heart shatter. They bring Charlotte's body to General Hospital, where the staff has prepared a quiet room for the family to say their goodbyes. Lulu insists on seeing her daughter. Some gently suggest she wait, that she remember Charlotte as she was, laughing and alive. But Lulu must see her, must hold her little girl one last time. In the softly lit room, Lulu approaches the small form laid out on the hospital gurney. Charlotte has been cleaned up, dressed in a simple white dress, her hair gently brushed. She almost looks like a sleeping angel. Lulu's breath catches in her throat. With a trembling hand, she touches Charlotte's cheek. It's cool, too cool, and that alone nearly breaks Lulu completely. Laura stands beside her, a supportive hand on Lulu's back as tears stream down her own face for her granddaughter. Jason hangs back by the doorway, giving the family their space while remaining close enough should they need him. Lulu whispers to Charlotte through her sobs, telling her how much Mommy loves her, how sorry she is that she couldn't protect her. It's a scene of pure heartbreak, one that no parent should ever have to endure. After what feels like an eternity, Lulu steps out of the room, her face pale and streaked with tears. But beneath the devastation, there is something new in her eyes, a spark of determination fueled by grief. Outside in the hallway, the reality has set in and now anger begins to mingle with her sorrow. Lulu turns to Jason and Laura, who have scarcely left her side. "I need to know what happened to my daughter," she says, her voice raw but resolute. Through her pain, Lulu is already formulating a new mission in her mind: to find Valentine and get the truth, no matter what it reveals or the cost. Laura immediately shakes her head, gently urging Lulu, "Please, don't do this right now. We need to mourn, to heal. The police will find Valentine and whoever did this." Jason adds softly, "Berlin authorities and the WSB are already looking for Valentine. I'll keep pushing them for answers. But you need to take care of yourself now." Despite their pleas, Lulu's resolve only hardens. The mere thought of sitting and waiting for answers is unbearable to her. She looks at Jason, eyes blazing with a mother's righteous fury. "If Valentine is out there, I have to find him," Lulu declares. "He has answers. He knows something. If he's guilty, then he needs to pay. If he's in danger, then I need to know that too." She struggles to articulate all the emotions crashing through her: grief, rage, confusion. But one thing is clear: Lulu will not rest until she confronts Charlotte's father face to face. Jason and Laura exchange concerned glances. They both understand Lulu's need for justice and closure, but the idea of her flying off to a foreign city in pursuit of a potentially dangerous man terrifies them. Laura steps forward and wraps her arms around Lulu, trying to comfort and restrain her at the same time. "Honey, I know you want answers, and you deserve them," Laura says softly into Lulu's hair. "But please, let the authorities handle this. I can't bear the thought of losing you too. Berlin is too dangerous right now." Lulu returns her mother's embrace but remains unyielding. She assures Laura that she'll be careful, that she won't do anything reckless. In truth, caution is an afterthought. The ache of losing Charlotte is so overwhelming that the only thing keeping Lulu going is the drive to do something. Jason places a hand on Lulu's shoulder, trying one last time to dissuade her. "Lulu, you know I'll do everything to get to the bottom of this. You don't have to put yourself in danger. Charlotte wouldn't want you getting hurt." Lulu's lips tremble at the mention of her daughter, but her eyes hold firm. "I appreciate everything you've done, Jason. Truly. But I have to do this. I need to see Valentine with my own eyes. I need to ask him why this happened. I need to know if he's the one who..." Her voice breaks, unable to finish the thought that Valentine could be responsible for Charlotte's death. Within 48 hours of bringing Charlotte home, and despite the objections of those closest to her, Lulu begins making arrangements to fly to Berlin herself. She refuses to sit idly in Port Charles while the trail might be growing cold. There's a small window of time where Valentine might still be within reach, and Lulu is determined to seize it. Before she leaves, Lulu visits Charlotte's bedroom at home. Surrounded by her daughter's toys and drawings, she feels a profound sorrow, but also a steely resolve. Lulu picks up a framed photo of her and Charlotte laughing together at the park, and gently kisses it. "I promise you, I will find out who did this," she whispers, voice quavering but resolute. Laura watches from the doorway, tears in her eyes, knowing she cannot change her daughter's mind, so instead she offers support. She hands Lulu an envelope with contacts of some old friends in Europe, vestiges of Laura's own adventures and connections from years past, hoping they might help Lulu or at least keep her safe. Meanwhile, Jason provides Lulu with all the information he and Spinelli gathered, from the Berlin police reports to Valentine's last known movements. He also gives her a secure burner phone and makes her vow to call him the moment she finds anything or if she lands in any trouble. The day Lulu departs for Berlin, she stands at the airport gate with Jason and Laura flanking her, both still uneasy about this journey. There are hugs and tears, and one more round of "Are you sure about this?" questions that Lulu steadfastly answers with a nod. Though her heart is heavy with grief, it's also blazing with purpose. As she walks down the jetway, Lulu steels herself for what lies ahead. She doesn't know if she'll find Valentine hiding in some corner of Europe or if she'll only find more questions. She doesn't know if she's walking into danger or finally toward the truth. What Lulu does know is that she owes it to Charlotte to see this through. The tragic loss of her daughter has become a burning drive for justice. In the distance, the engines of the plane roar to life. Lulu settles into her seat, clutching Charlotte's photo in her hand. Come what may, she is determined to uncover the truth behind Charlotte's death. And as the plane lifts off, Lulu silently vows that she will not return to Port Charles without answers, no matter where they lead or how painful they may be.